I'm Pearl Strand from NUTV Sports, joined here today with Northeastern Athletic Director Jim Madigan. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me today.
Thank you, Pearl, for having me.
Let's just jump right in. You have been at Northeastern since you were a student. What intrigued you to come to Northeastern and continue here after graduation?
I've been fortunate, and I've said I might be one of the most fortunate people here at Northeastern as an alum because I've been able to spend 40 years at Northeastern. I've seen the growth and evolution of our university academically, socially, and physically to the campus. And I was fortunate that two gentlemen, Fernie Flaman, who was the head hockey coach at the time, and Don McKenney, who was our assistant hockey coach, who then later became the head coach, recruited me to Northeastern back in 1981. And so I started here in the fall of '81, and it was an exciting time. The program had a great year the year before. It was on the front page of Sports Illustrated. The year that we came in, we had success, won the ECAC, which was the first time that hockey had won a championship, and then went to the, back then it was called the Final Four, but Frozen Four in hockey. So I was fortunate to have a great experience winning, being part of two Beanpot championship teams in '84 and '85, that I wanted to stay and remain part of the university. So I got to be engaged in the university and the community of Northeastern and realized the wonderful people that were affiliated and associated with the institution, that I wanted to have that same feeling. And right after that, after I graduated, Fernie Flaman and Don McKenney hired me as an assistant coach. So the two coaches that I worked for who recruited me, now I'm on staff with them as a young assistant. And then that, the career path just continued to stay here at Northeastern.
Yeah, and so you touched on seeing the university evolve, campus life, academically. Could you touch on how you've seen it change in the athletic space?
The evolution is in all those spaces, academically, athletically, the physical part, the social part. In 1980, Northeastern Athletics had always had some successes, but the winning of the Beanpot just kind of elevated the athletic department as a whole. It took the university 28 years, as you know, to win its first Beanpot. And when it did, it's such an event here in Boston. It galvanized our alumni, and particularly our athletic alumni. And I was fortunate to come in the year later, 1981, 82. But it was also coinciding with Jimmy Calhoun and the basketball team having great success, and that they won in 1981 and 82. And in 82, they went to, they went to the second round of the NCAA tournament. And basketball was having a lot of success, and track and field were, our women's programs were. The 80s were a great year for Northeastern athletically, and when you have that success, it gives a spotlight on the programs of what we need to have from a facilities perspective and resources to continue maintaining and sustaining that level of excellence. And it put a focus on saying, hey, if we want to compete at the highest level, we've got to make the investment, and the university did it during that period of time.
Turning a little bit towards men's hockey, so you obviously have served and played in so many different roles, coach, scout, and player. How have these different positions influenced your perspective on the game?
Yeah, the game, like I said about the university evolving, the game's evolved. And every sport evolves over a period of time. And so from starting in 1981, 82 as a player to then coaching in the late 80s, early 90s, and then returning back as a coach in 2011, the game has changed an awful lot. And as current as you are with it from a scouting perspective, when you start coaching again, hey, there's different systems, there's different techniques. And of course, the student athletes are different, right? The personality is different from in the 80s to the 2011. So you got to make sure you're adjusting, adapting, to the personalities, to the players, and to the trends that are involved in hockey. There's been an awful lot of changes in that period of time. One is that the student athletes are in tremendous condition and tremendous physical shape. They're bigger, they're stronger, they're faster. They really are focused in on excellence all the time, where back when I don't want to sound like a dinosaur, back when I played and in the early part of my coaching, you kind of got into shape during camp. 2 or 3 weeks before the season would begin, you get yourself into shape. And not that we didn't take hockey serious back then, but that was what was happening throughout all the programs nationally, and for the most part even at the pro level. Now it's a year-round commitment. Our student athletes make that year-round commitment. They're dedicated to the sport, they're dedicated to doing the right things each and every day, from the academic preparation and the rigor of the academic programs to the social component, and then the athletic part of it, where you want to succeed and be successful. And in men's ice hockey, there's that focus in, because you want to get to the next level, and a lot of our kids have had the opportunity to play at the NHL and American hockey level, so there's a little more pressure they put on themselves to get there. I still think the student athletes are having fun, and that's the most important thing through this process. I think what's been consistent through the timeline from when I started in 81 to now is our student athletes are here for a reason. They're here to get a degree. They're here to enjoy hockey, socially, have great friendships, relationships, and the university's always done it the right way in terms of how it's approached athletics.
Yeah, and you mentioned earlier the Beanpot. You've obviously been a huge part of 6 of the 7 victories,
Yep.
4 times as a coach and then 2 times as a player. Could you just dive in a little bit more than you already did about how much the Beanpot really means to Northeastern and the city of Boston?
Yeah. First point of clarification is that I've been smart enough to put myself on good teams as a player and associated with good players and a good staff in the coaching component of it. My skill level didn't get us to the championships, let me tell you. You know, I often talk about the Beanpot and its importance in the city. It's part of the fabric of Boston. If you look at Boston, you look at the events happening in Boston. The Boston Marathon is a staple here in the city. Opening day at Fenway Park. So it captures the whole city when it comes to the Beanpot. First 2 Mondays in February, but it's a standalone event. It's down at the Boston Garden. This city is a big college hockey town, so you're getting a lot of people coming and supporting it. And from a university perspective, it's extremely important, from our administration to our students, to our alumni, to our faculty and staff. And you know, we're playing 3 other peer institutions in the city. All of them are very, great institutions, as we are. So you got 4 strong institutions who are competing for the bragging rights of the city. And when you do win this, you do carry the bragging rights of the city. And you realize the impact of the Beanpot when you graduate and you're 2, 3, 4, 5 years later the Beanpot, and even to this point 35 years removed from the Beanpot, you get introduced and you say, he played in the Beanpot, and he was on a team that won a Beanpot 2, 3, 4, whatever the number is, and it's part of who you are. Now, we're certainly not defined by that, but that's how you're introduced. So you know the importance of the Beanpot. It does take on a significant component of the city, an element of the city, and it's really important to all 4 schools that they have success in the tournament.
Yeah, and are you looking forward to this year finally being able to have it and even hosting the women's tournament here at Matthews?
So, with the women's tournament and the women's team have been tremendous on it. Coach Flynn has had just this unbelievable run, and that tournament rotates every 4 years. And of course, the COVID year we didn't have it, so it's back here at Matthews, which is great. Our student athletes in women's ice hockey are great at home. They're great wherever you play. When you look at their record, they win a lot of games. And Coach Flint and the staff and the players have a lot to be are commended for their tremendous success over the last few years. It's going to be nice to be hosting right in here. The last time it was hosted, it was over at BU and won in overtime. It was a great atmosphere over at Walter Brown Arena, and look to have that same type of experience here back at Matthews when our school will host it with the championship. And we're defending champions, right? Yeah. Again, in men's and women's. And for women's, we're off to another real good start, and top 4 in the country, from an NCAA perspective in the national rankings. And so excited for them and their success. And I know they had a tremendous year last year, as we all know, when it was an overtime goal short of winning the national championship, and they're poised to get back that same level again this year.
So now just transitioning into athletic director. So what has the transition been like for you?
I was fortunate when I made the transition from coach of the hockey program to the athletic director's role and position. I was walking into a new position with a tremendous administrative staff of associate athletic directors and assistant athletic directors, coaches, and athletics administration personnel throughout the organization. Were all very professional, highly qualified, and people that I knew and worked with. So I wasn't walking into a new venture. It was an established, organization, established team. I knew the coaches very well. We were all peers together, so I knew that we had tremendous strength at the coaching level position. And when I made that transition, I relied on from the athletic administration, particularly Regina Sullivan and Marshall Foley, a lot, who had been at the university for a while, for some guidance and some direction just on our positioning at the university level, as well as at the national level on issues that were very pertinent. I walked into the seat with a lot happening, right? Name, image, and likeness was upon us. That was an opportunity for me to get up to speed quickly, and you had to put the time into these issues right away, and the support that I had from those two were tremendous, as well as from the senior upper level leadership of the institution. Madeline Estabrook and Ken Henderson were tremendous in my transition, knowing that I was going from a hockey coach only in charge of one ship, and now I had the whole fleet in the ship, as you said. So the portfolio was exponential, and there continues to be a learning curve. I'm very familiar with the institution. I understand the inner workings of the institution. That was helpful to me in the transition. I understand some of our needs athletically from being in athletics for a long time, and I've always prided myself on not just being having a myopic view just on hockey. I knew a lot about all our programs, and I knew the history of a lot of our programs beyond hockey. I knew a lot of the alumni from those sports, and my previous roles helped me in that, as the Director of Athletics Development, as the Associate Dean of the Business School, DeBoer and Kim School of Business. So I'm excited about it. I'm excited every day coming to work and challenged by the opportunities that are in front of us to continue moving forward with progress for our athletic department, and providing the resources that we need to our teams and our student athletes, and making sure that our student athletes have a tremendous 4 or 5 year experience here at Northeastern, and that experience doesn't end when their graduation comes, but that experience is a lifetime commitment. And if we do the student athlete experience right here at Northeastern from an athletic perspective, those student athletes will have a lifetime relationship and commitment to the institution.
Well, the women's teams here at Northeastern have had remarkable success over the past few years. Last weekend, you saw the women's soccer team making it to the CAA finals, and then last season, the women's hockey team being runners-up in the whole country in the NCAA tournament. So what are your plans for continuing to develop and promote these outstanding programs?
Yeah, so when you look at the success of our women's programs, it's led obviously by the women's hockey program in the last few years, and I think a three-peat of Hockey East Championships and the Beanpot, Frozen Four, appearance last year, and the success of the program, the student athletes that they have coming in there, and they're on their way again this year to having another successful season. And our women's track and field program has been very successful. I was there the last 5 days last week and weekend with our women's soccer program, who played tremendously, knocked off the number 1 seed in the semifinals and lost 2-1 in the championship game, and looked like we tied the game and didn't get the break, but really proud of how they competed and battled during the course of the season. And then field hockey lost in double overtime in the semifinals to JMU, which was the number 1 seed at the time. So our women's programs will continue to have success in swimming, diving. I can go through all of them that will have success, and anxious this year for our new head coach, Brigitte Mitchell, who begins her tenure tomorrow as the head coach of our women's basketball program. We start off with playing Holy Cross, so excited for her and the women in that program. And our level of commitment to the women's and men's program is to achieve excellence in everything we do athletically. And as I said, my job is to make sure that those coaches and student athletes and programs have the resources which to compete at a national and conference level each year, and that we're keeping our eye on the prize and making sure the student athletes have a great experience, first and foremost, academically, athletically, socially, and then we provide those resources for them to have that quality student athlete experience.
Of course. And so just to wrap up, what has been your favorite thing about being athletic director so far, and what are you looking forward to, as this is only the beginning of this journey? Yeah,
so it's 5 months into the new role, a lot of challenges, which excites me, and the range of issues you deal with each and every day is a wide range, and much different than when you're just managing one program, athletic program. It's quite simply, what excites me is the same thing that excited me when I was in hockey are the student athletes. So people ask me, do you miss hockey? Yeah, no, I do miss being around the student athletes in hockey, because I got to know them really well. I was involved in the recruitment of them and seeing them grow and develop. But I'm really fortunate that I have now 400 and something student athletes And I don't know them all yet on a personal level, of course, and that will take some time. But getting to know them, seeing them, watching them compete, watching them come through Cabot Center, making their way to the academic center, to some of the coaches' office, seeing them and seeing their success, see how they're doing academically, athletically. And we're very fortunate. We've got student athletes who challenge themselves to be very successful in the classroom, on the playing fields and rinks and water and courts and everything else, and are good quality people. So that's the part that I've enjoyed, to get to meet all the other student athletes. And we just mentioned about women's soccer, and I spent 5 days with them, and I really enjoyed myself getting to know them. Certainly the guys and the girls are a little bit different. One thing was all the women's soccer players all brought their books. My guys never brought their books with them when we went away for 4 or 5 days. Just joking, guys. But it was unique to see, and a different experience. And so that excites me every day, being able to be around all our student athletes.
That's incredible. Well, I'm really excited to see what unfolds during your tenure as athletic director, and thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me today.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
With NUTV Sports, I've been Pearl Strand. Thanks for watching.